Hello, Evelings or future Evelings. I'm doing a video here called 5 Important Basics of EVE Online, or something like that. Some arrangement of those words. I haven't 100% decided yet. I tried to think back to when I started playing, and I thought about the things that confused me when I first started, and I'm also drawing from the knowledge of the questions people ask in Corp Chat, like trying to figure out just the kind of the basics of this deep, ridiculous game. And so, if we catch a new wave of incoming players, I don't want them to give up right away. I don't want them to be confused. CCP is also working on a bunch of new player experience stuff, but who knows how useful that'll be. I'm hoping very useful. But just in case, a lot of us creators are making new player YouTube videos to kind of help people out. In the description for the video is a link. If you do start playing, use that link. It will give me a kickback of stuff, and I like stuff because stuff is good and not stuff is not good. You'll also get 1 million free skill points out of it, which is like experience points, basically, in EVE. And that'll allow you to do stuff. That link, my recruit a friend link, is in the description. So be a friend. Now, I'm going to start with, there's 5 categories: navigation, buying stuff, shooting stuff, security status, and how to know what to train. Those are the 5 things we're going to focus on in this video today, and I'm hoping that that'll really help you get a good start on what to do in this game. So navigation is what we need to talk about first of all. EVE takes place over a vast amount of solar systems, and when I say vast, it's some insane number in the thousands, I think. I don't know for sure, but there are a lot of them. And as you recall from real life, solar systems are huge. So it's not like World of Warcraft or Guild Wars 2 or, Final Fantasy 14, where you're just running around in the grass in the world and you find stuff and you wave to people and you're on bridges. Most of EVE is nothingness. Just like most of space is nothingness. There are a few things that you need to become familiar with. First of all, when you see a window like this, and this is my new character, his name is Julius Pleaser. I'm pretty happy about that. He's here today to help us out. When you're in a window like this is inside of a station, a space station. And this is the little capsule that your guy is in. You actually never see your character in EVE, ever. This is the most you see of them. It's usually like their headshot, and when you're chatting, you see their little heads and stuff. You can see more of them, but it's not like they're constantly walking around. You are inside this capsule. You're a capsuleer. And this capsule, when you fly a bigger ship, this capsule goes inside, and you're inside the other ship, inside your capsule. It's kind of like a turducken, a space turducken. It's a capsule inside a ship, and sometimes a capsule inside a ship, inside another ship. In the case of battleships, there's several layers, though that's a real space turducken. For those of you that don't know what turduckens are, it's a chicken stuffed inside a duck, stuffed inside a turkey. But anyway, I'm veering off course. So we're inside a station, and the way we get out of the station is we say undock. And when you undock, you are no longer safe anywhere in EVE Online. Now, people say that because they like to feel cool, that it sounds scary, and it kind of is a scary game in that way. I'll explain that when we get into the security status section. But for now, here we are. We're coming outside the station. There's a couple things we got to look at here real quick. One is this overview on the right. This is like your best buddy. Now, there's lots of junk on here. You won't recognize at first. But there are 2 main things when you first start playing that you need to be able to spot quickly on this overview. One is the squares, which are stations. NPC stations specifically. That's this big honking thing right here. This is an NPC station called Federation Navy Assembly Plant. And all the NPC stations are near a planet. All right, so there's a planet behind it. This game is just gorgeous. And this happens to be Planet 9. Okay, Dodixie IX. Dodixie is the name of the solar system I am in. Remember, there are thousands of these. So I am on Planet 9, the 20th moon of that planet, and the NPC station is right by the moon. So this actually back here is not the planet itself, it's one of the moons. But that's not important, really. It's just cool. So here I am floating out into space. Now, on the overview, it will give you, you can sort things by distance, by their name, by their type, by their then all this stuff might not be there on your starting overview, and I have a bunch of custom tabs, but you will have a general tab that kind of has all the useful stuff. So squares are NPC stations. All right, so the first thing we have to understand is how to get around in this game. To get long distances, and I mean long distances, most of these jumps are measured in AU, which is astronomical units. 1 AU is equal to the distance between the Earth and the Sun, the average distance. In this game, I don't know if that's true or not, if it's actually that, because there's no Earth here. It's an entirely different solar system, as far as I know. And so in order to make these long things, you can't just start walking there like you would in a regular MMO. You can't just fly your ship over there. You have to be able to warp to it. So if you hold left click, you'll get the radial menu, and you can say warp to. Let's say we want to warp to this station. This is Dodixie 8, Nugoyuhuvi Corporation, something or other. Okay. Oh, you can either right click it and say warp to within. I like the radial menu a lot, but you kind of have to get used to how that works. That's all long left click. And then if you let up on warp to within, it'll say establishing warp vector. You'll turn in the direction of the thing, and you will start warping there. And ships all have a certain speed at which they warp, which you can find if you go to the fitting. You can go down here and look. This one warps at 3 AU per second. So that was about 12 AU away, so it should take me about 4 or 5 seconds to get there. There's a little bit of acceleration, a little bit of deceleration at the end, so it's not exact, but it's close enough. So here is the other station in this, one of the other stations in this solar system. There's actually 3 different ones here that you can go to in this solar system. There's also some other things that you'll have to kind of learn as you go. We're not going to go over those now. We're just covering stations and stargates. Those are the 2 main things we need to understand. Now, once you get to the station, if you want to go inside, you can hold this and say dock. You can right click and say dock, and then you'll go inside this station. Your docking request has been accepted. Your ship will be towed into the station. Why is it turning that way? That's really weird, but okay. So then we go inside just like we were in the other station. This one's an entirely different place, and your capsule will just go here, okay? But we want to be out. So we're going to talk about stargates next. Stargates are the way that you travel between solar systems. So in order to get around to different places in the game, you have to jump through the stargates. There's 2 different ways to do it, but let's say we're going to go to Auvergne over here, whatever. If you go here and say jump, you will warp to this stargate and jump directly through it into the next solar system, or you can just warp to it and then you have to give it the jump command second. This is only useful for fleet stuff. In the beginning, you're probably just going to want to jump stuff. So let's jump. And let's take a look at what happens. So we're warping there. Whatever, that's only 7.6 AU, so once we get set, it should tick down pretty quickly down there, and we're almost there. Once we get there, the capsule will go into the Stargate, and it will shoot it into the Auvergne solar system. That's the name of that solar system. This one is Dodixie. This one's Auvergne. They all have their own names, and let's take a look at this. They recently updated this animation, and my capsule looks really shiny because of the art update, and I think it's just beautiful. Now, this is going to shoot me like a big, giant capsule cannon into the next place. So, bam, and you'll watch now this changes to Auvergne up here, right? We are not in Dodixie anymore, Toto. So, now we're in here. Now, what you're going to also notice is that some distances are short, okay? So, if I want to go back through to Dodixie, when I jumped through, it actually puts my capsule about 12 kilometers away. Now that's a distance that we can actually cover. It's going to take a while in our slow capsule, which is invisible right now for reasons we will talk about in another video. But if we want to jump back, we can give the jump command, but it has to be within 2,500 meters of the thing. And so it will slowly get there. Capsule is very slow, but there are faster ships that you can do this in, okay? And in a capsule, it honestly might be faster to just warp somewhere else and then warp back to the Stargate, which will put you right at 0. But those are just things you kind of have to learn along the way. So, actually, let's see how that works, because I'm already bored of slow boating there. We're going to just warp to the Botane Stargate, because it's pretty close to us. It's only 10,000 K. It's not even an AU, so we should get there real quick. And then we'll just jump back through the Dodixie one once we get there. As long as I got the radial menu open, once I stop, this will light up, and I can go back and warp back into Dodixie. Okay. That's how gates work, and those are the important things on the overview. The stargates and the NPC stations. Okay. Let's talk about the next thing, which is the star map. All right, this is how you know where you are. I have it set to M. I think by default it's F10 or something like that, but that was no good for me because M means map, so you can reset your shortcuts as you need to. Now, this little doohickey that says you are here is kind of hilarious, and I'm jumping, so it should move over to Dodixie. And now I'm in Dodixie. From this map, you can see a lot of things. We're not going to cover it in depth, but you can see where the connections are. So if you look at the map, Dodixie has 6 connections. Vilaid, Auvergne, Grelier, see the line, and Botane, and you can also go up here to Mevis or Athenard, or maybe Meves, I don't know, however you want to say it. That's the great thing about Eve. So if we look over here, there should be 6 stargates. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Each one of them will shoot you to a different solar system based on where we are on the map. All right, so if you zoom out, this is how big Eve is. It gets ridiculous. Here we are in the teeny little center in the middle of this, and there's just systems everywhere. Every one of these dots is a different solar system, and that's how big this game is. Where did I go? I'm over here in Dodixie. So that's the basics of the star map. All right. So the next thing we want to talk about is setting destinations to places. Sometimes in this game, you're going to want to go somewhere, and you're going to want to know how to get there. So the best way to do it is to open the star map, go to the search thing. Let's say I've got a mission and it says, hey, you need to go to like Orville or somewhere. All right, this is just a system I know well. You can type it in up here. When you see it, this is the solar system. You right click it and you say set destination. Now, what you'll see is on your map, a little dotted line will show where you're going to go. Orville is only 6 jumps away from Dodixie, but some of those jumps are massive. This one here being very long. And so, things can be close but far. It's kind of weird how it works. But now we have a destination set. And on our overview, you'll see that one of the stargates is lit up in yellow. If you keep jumping through the yellow stargates, they will take you to Orville. That's your final destination. All right, we're not going to talk too much in depth about this, but that's how you set a destination, and then you get there by jumping through the stargates. Now, another tempting thing to do is to press this A down here, which says autopilot, but what you need to understand is what this really means is assume you will die. That's what the A stands for, assume you will die. What autopilot does is it warps you to the next stargate in order for your route, your destination, but it warps you 10 kilometers away from it, and then your ship slowly slow boats towards it, just like we saw when we were going towards the Dodixie one from the other side. And what this does is several things. One, if you're carrying expensive stuff, autopiloting is just an incredibly good way to get yourself blown up, because while you're jumping through a stargate, you are invulnerable. But while you are slowly heading towards it, you are completely vulnerable. So let's put on autopilot and I'll show you what happens. Now, autopilot, what you can do is click this and just run away for like 20 minutes, and then you'll, go eat cake or whatever it is you do in your spare time. And the computer will take care of jumping you all the way to Orville. It will take more time, like I said, because when you use autopilot, it puts you 10 km away from every single gate in the chain. Whereas if you jump it manually, that doesn't happen. You go right to the gate, you warp right through. But watch this. Now we're going to go real slow towards the Botane gate. We're going to lose our minds. All right. So I want to caution people away from autopiloting unless you're just going to autopilot in AFK. Right? It takes forever, and it's super dangerous if you have anything valuable. It gives gankers and bad, naughty spacemen enough time to tackle your ship and blow it up and take all your space candy. So, don't autopilot unless you really want to. I hope this guy's not autopiloting. This is an obelisk. Oh my, is he? Wait, no, he's not autopiloting. Never mind. I was like, he's 9,000 from the gate, but he's 9,000 from me, which means he's a lot closer to the gate. So see, it put me far away. When I get there, I'll jump into the next system. It'll warp me to the next gate at 10 km away from that gate too. But we're going to stop it. I push control space to stop my spaceship, another good thing to know. And we're going to get rid of this because we are going on to the next part of the game. That's how you get around, and that's how that works. We are actually going to dock up in Dodixie Moon 20. I can't tell which one it is. It's Federation Navy Assembly Plant. So we're going to dock here. So I pushed J, which is my dock key, but it starts as D for dock. But it's also for jump and other stuff too. So I set it to J. Plus, J has a nice little knob on it on my keyboard so I can find it in the dark. Okay, next part of the video is called buying stuff. I hope that was a good navigation intro. Here we go into the next section. All right, so we have docked back at the station from where we started, and now we're going to talk about buying stuff. Eve has a vast marketing system. We are not going to get into all the ins and outs of it, but something that seems to confuse a lot of people is that, unlike other MMOs, Eve really cares about where stuff is stored. Okay, so this station has what this station has. Okay, so even within the same solar system, different stations within that system will have different stuff. When you sell an item in this game, it is sold from the station where you are docked. You put it in there, it's like a little store. But the way we buy things in this game is go to the regional market. Now, notice the word regional, okay? It's kind of important because each of the solar systems belongs to a certain region. In this case, we are in a region called Cinq Liaisons. I don't know if that's how you say it. It sounds kind of French. Maybe this is Don d'Exé. No, that was horrible. We'll cut that. Cinq Liaisons, right? So this is the region. So when you search for stuff on the market to buy, it's going to be all stuff that you can see in Cinq Liaisons. So I know what I'm going to buy for the next part of the video. So let's just look for light electron blaster ones. We're going to search for those specifically. And then when you go over here, you can click that. Now, knowing what to buy is a completely different story. Okay, so if we can sort this seller's window, these are people selling this thing. All right. Buyer's window, these are people that want to buy light electron blasters, and where that is, we're not going to get into that. We just want to know how to buy stuff at first, because quite honestly, selling things is in the early game is not as lucrative as just buying stuff and going to kill stuff. So what we can see is that within this region, there are 3 different places where this is being sold. There are 4 different people selling it here, right where I am inside this station that I'm currently in. There is somebody selling 18 of these blasters 4 jumps away from me in Parchanier. And there's somebody selling 10 of these blasters 5 jumps away in Trosser. Okay, so if we want to sort by price as well, we can see that these blasters actually cost a bit less, right? These are somebody selling them for 23,000 right now. They're sorted so the lowest price is up here. If we want to pay less money, we got to go a few jumps, right? So it's all sort of a balancing game, right? Do I want to just get the best price and go a little bit farther away, which is sometimes the case, but not always. Sometimes the best price is just right where you're sitting. Do I want to play a little extra and not have to jump a bunch? Usually the correct answer, but not always, right? There are no 100% guaranteed rules in EVE Online. So I think that we'll probably buy a couple of these here. In order to buy these, you right-click it, and you say, buy this. And you say, how many do you want? Well, I know I want 2 of them, okay? So I'm going to just buy these. Now, what happens is I bought them, and now they are in my inventory in this station, in the item hanger for this station. I got a bunch of other junk in here. Try not to look too hard at it. Here's the things we just bought. 2 light electron blaster ones. There's 2 of them. You'll learn more about the guns and stuff as we go along. But these are 2 guns. Now we've bought them. We paid our hard-earned money, which is from our wallet. We bought a couple of these blasters, and they were here in the station, so now they're in our item hanger. These don't exist on my ship or my character or anywhere. They live here. If I go away from this hangar, these guns will just stay in the item hanger. If I undock from this station, they'll stay there. I have to put them somewhere. It's like a stash. Every station has a little stash of your stuff, and that's what happens. So buying stuff is pretty easy. We need to talk a little bit about. We talked about regional markets. Okay, so this is only the electron blasters that are up for sale in the Cinq Liaisons region. If you go to a different region, you might be able to find an even better price, but this window will not tell you the prices in other regions. There are websites that will do that. Eve Marketer is a really good one. I like Eve Tycoon a lot. You can search the entirety of Eve and see where the absolute best price on light electron blaster ones is, and you can snap them up from there. But the problem is, you have to fly out there and get them. So, it's a balance of price versus convenience, right? Because that's just kind of what it is. It's like the real world. Eve is. Okay. So The places where you're going to usually find the best prices on stuff, usually, but not always, are the trade hubs. There are 5 main ones. There's Dodixie, which is where we are in Federation Navy Assembly Plant Moon 20. There is Renz, a solar system called Renz. Let's see if we can bring that up. I don't usually go to these other ones. I don't know which station it is here, but you can fly to this solar system and ask what the trade hub is, and somebody will tell you. There's one in Heck. I don't know which station again, but that's just what it is. There's one in Amar, another big trade hub, and again, trade hub. And again, I don't know which station it is, but it's one of the stations in there. And then the main trade hub and the most dangerous solar system in the game is JETA. And this is, it's JETA 4 Moon 4 Keldarvi Navy Assembly Plant. And it usually has the best prices on stuff because, supply, demand, and all that is kind of a big deal. At least as far as NPC stations go. Of course, there's nuance to everything in EVE, so, just learn what you can about the basics and then expand from there. Okay, so those are the 5 trade hubs. Depending on which race you picked and where you're starting in space, you will be near one of those 5. And, that's the place where most of the trade happens, in that area of space. Okay, so that is about buying stuff. You can also do something called placing a buy order. Now, this is very complicated, and you have to know what you're doing when you go into this. This is you becoming one of the buyers down here. You put up, how much you're willing to pay for the item, how many you want, how long your buy order is going to stay up, where you're buying it from, right? You can buy it anywhere in the region, out to 40 jumps or whatever. With skills, I believe skills impact how far you can place buy orders. But then people that want to sell light electron blasters will bring them here and sell them to you, and you'll end up with them in the item hangar of whatever station you ended up placing the buy order from, or anything, right? Like, they can end up all over the place. This is not something I use a ton, but this is the way you get the best prices, right? Like, hang on, let's look at this. If we sort the buyer price, the most someone is buying these for right now is 5,200. So if you put up 5,300 ISK and you want to buy some amount of light electron blasters and you're willing to wait, you can pay under a quarter of their buy price. That's just how it works. If you directly buy it, then it's more expensive. If you can wait until somebody sells it to you, then you'll get it for less, but you won't get it right then. And sometimes you need it right then. Sometimes you need it yesterday. You know what I'm saying? Because a bad man blew up your spaceship and you need a new spaceship. So that's buy orders. That's how to directly buy stuff. Remember that it is station specific. If I buy this, which I'm going to do just for fun, it'll warn me. It says this isn't in the station that you're docked in. It's somewhere else. It's in Parchanier. Are you sure you want to buy it? You can just say, yeah, whatever. Then that light electron blaster will not show up in here. See how we still only have 2? It's all the way in Parchanier. It's somewhere else. So don't think just because you're buying stuff that you're going to be able to get it. You got to really check if it's a station. You got to know where it is when you buy it. Okay, and that's part 2 about buying stuff. Part 3 is going to be shooting stuff. And here we go. Okay, let's talk about shooting stuff. Now, I'm actually not sure how well this is going to go. This is a completely brand new character, this Julius Pleaser. So here's Julius, and he doesn't even have a ship. He's got a capsule. This thing has no weapon systems. He's basically naked. You can always get a free little ship called a Corvette. If you run out of ships and you don't have any ISK, you always can get a Corvette. So all you got to do is go up here and say, board my Corvette. And the game will put you into a Corvette. Now, it's not always going to be a Velator. It depends on where you are in space, but this is a ship called a Velator. See if I get a basic one. Let's go back into the fitting. Yep, this is the one that they give you to start. It's horrible. It's got one gun called a civilian Gatling railgun. I think it shoots civilians. It's got a civilian miner on it, so you can mine asteroids and stuff. And it's got an afterburner. I don't know if this thing can survive even the most basic encounters of this game, but we're going to try just to show you what's up with it. But first, we're going to fly back to Dodixie, the other station, because I want to put the other guns that I bought on this, and I want to show you something that confuses a lot of people. Let's talk about this ship while I fly back. I'm undocking in the Velator. And I'm going to fly back to the other station, which is Dodixie Moon 20 Federation Naval Assembly Plant. So the thing about the civilian Gatling railgun, or a lot of these civilian modules, they don't use ammunition, and this confuses a lot of people. So this gun can fire without having any ammunitions. It's like a bow that doesn't need arrows, or that creates its own space magic arrows, right? Like some games will let you do that. Some games don't care about ammunition, but Eve cares about ammunition. Except in the civilian weapons, which I wish they weren't kind of the starter things because that's confusing to people. So we're going to put the other guns on here that do need ammunition. We're going to buy some ammunition, and we're going to put it in the guns. And then we're going to go try to blow some stuff up, or we'll probably die because this fit is awful. I have 901 hit points, which is in Eve is almost nothing. But we're going to try our best. So in order to get this ship fit up, we got to take this crud off of it first. So we're going to unfit that and the miner as well. Bye-bye. So you notice we have high slots. This is where guns go. Check out my fitting videos if you need to understand more about fitting. It's very complex. But now I'm in my item hangar here in Dodixie Moon 20, Federation Navy Assembly Plant. I'm going to just put a light electron blaster there, and I'll put my other one there. Okay. Now it's got better guns. But the problem with these guns is they need ammo. So in Eve, a lot of times if you have questions about how to do things, you can right-click on stuff, and that'll open up a whole bunch of stuff. So what we're going to do for these to figure out what they want to fire, like we know they fire some kind of projectile, but we don't know what. So we say show info and we go to the used with tab, and this will tell us a bunch of stuff. We are interested in Tech 1 right now because we're just flying cheap junk for the video, and cheap junk is great. You can get a lot of stuff done. And there are 8 different types of ammo that these guys can fire. For now, we are going to use antimatter charge S, which means we need to get some of this. So we're going to go to used with, and we're going to do this, and we're going to just pop it in. Okay, this puts us in simulation mode, so none of this is really happening. But you can see up here it says 200 antimatter charge S. So each gun can hold up to 200. So we want about 400 of this stuff. So we're going to go here. We're going to view market details on antimatter charge S. And we're going to find some that's being sold in the station. We'll always sort by price, but then look for station, right? There's a bunch here up for cheap. So we're going to buy 400 of this. And then we're going to exit the simulation mode so that we're actually doing stuff. And we are going to load this from our item hangar into our guns. Boom. And now it's in our ship. Now, alternately, I'll show you how this works outside the station too. So every ship that you're flying also has its own cargo hold. Julius Pleaser's Velator has 135 cubic meters of space. And this antimatter only takes up 1 cubic meter of space. So we can put it in our hold of the ship. Now it's in the ship's hold. And we will undock in this thing and talk about the next part. So here's my guns, and here is my afterburner. Now, this is, if you hold and move around, you can see the top 8 keys here are your F keys. These, I've never used these hotkeys in my life. Maybe if you're flying something that has really big stuff, but usually you're just better clicking it than trying to do all this. But you can fly it however you want. Right? These guns are both empty. If you right click and say antimatter charge S, it will load it in, and you can load them both like this. Alternately, and what you should actually do, and I'll show you how this works too, you say group all weapons. As long as your weapons are the same thing, and these are both light electron blaster 1s, you can group them, and then it's basically just a stack of guns. Now whenever I hit F1, it'll fire both the guns, and I don't have to worry about because some ships have 8 guns, and you have to be pushing F1, F2, F3, F4, F5 to fire them all. As long as your guns are the same type, you can group them up, and your guns should always be the same type. Okay, when you're starting out, there's no reason to have your guns be a bunch of different things. Okay, so then I'll put my afterburner on F2. Now we can also unload the ammo to cargo, and we can load both guns like this as well. If they're stacked grouped like this, 2 guns, we can reload the antimatter. It'll put it into both guns. All right? Okay. So that's how your guns work. Missile launchers work the same way. Lasers are very similar. Projectile weapons are very similar. The only thing that's not similar is drones, and we're not going to talk about those today. Even though I can put drones in the Velator, I can't use them because I have no skills. Because Julius Pleaser didn't study hard enough in the Center for Advanced Studies, so he doesn't know what he's doing. But anyway, when you're in the early stages of the game, all the things that you're going to fight are probably going to be combat anomalies. These are little things that exist in space where pirates have come and set up shop, and they are there for you to blow up. They're PvE. They're just AI little ships that are there. And I think maybe I can handle a hideaway in this thing, but I actually have no idea if that's even possible. The way you find the combat anomalies in a system, you can do it a couple different ways. This is the agency. Very, very useful for new players to find things. Now, there's a lot of junk in here. Okay, but if you go under exploration and click combat anomalies, this will tell you how many anomalies are in the systems. Space water break. This will tell you what kind of combat anomalies are in the systems, the solar systems. Okay, so in the Dodixie, there's one in here. It's called the Serpentance Forlorn Hideaway, right? In Meaves Next Door, there's a burrow. In Violade, there's 2 refuges. Those are too hard for me, I know, just from experience. There's a burrow there, and there's a hideaway in Agralier. So we are actually going to right-click and just say jump through Stargate. This will take us right to Agralier. Agralier. That solar system. And hopefully nobody's blown this up by the time we get there, because I really want to try a hideaway in this. Okay. While we're going there, we're going to open up another window called the probe scanner, which is, for me, it's P, but I think it's defaulted as Alt-P, but Alt was annoying, so P is just better. And this will tell you what's in here. See, we saw this one in the agency, the Serpentance Forlorn Hideaway. It's sitting over here, this little green diamondy looking thing. But we can also get to it from the probe scanner window, and as you look through here, there's all kinds of stuff. Here's the sun of the solar system. Here's the planets. Remember how we're on Dodixie 9, Moon 20, or whatever it is where the Federation Navy Assembly Planet is. So there's the 9th planet out. The Dixie even got up 10th planet. Now we're warping to the next solar system, so this map's going to change. You can warp to anything from here as well, from this window. Anything that you can see and anything that you can hover over, you can right-click and warp to it. We want to go to the Serpentis Hideaway, which turns out is right there. We can go from here, we can go to there. We're going to warp to within 0 of this thing, and I'm going to explain what to do, and we're going to try not to blow up. Although we very well may, because this ship has nothing on it, and it's terrible. So right when we warp in, we're going to start to see some red. I'm assuming nobody's in here. I don't have local open. There's 14 people in system. So there might be somebody in here doing it. But if there's not, we'll see some red triangles over here. Red things on your overview are enemy ships. Now, knowing which ones you can kill and which ones you can't are kind of a big deal. So, yep. So this little triangle is a frigate, and they're the littlest kind of ships in the game, except for this Corvette, which is actually a lot worse. So what we're going to do, here he is over here. He's also on our overview. You can interact with him in both spots. It's the same guy. So in the left-click menu, we can left-click and orbit him, and we're going to orbit really close. Why close? We're going to turn on our afterburner to get over to him. Right now he's 33k away. Why close? Because if I hover my guns, you can see it says optimal range within 550 meters. That means this is like this is a very short-range weapon system, and so I can't even hit him from this far away. I'm still 25 kilometers out. That's 25,000 meters, and this thing's optimal is within 550 meters. So I got to get in real close before I start hitting him. My afterburner allows me to go faster. Not much faster, because Velators are terrible, but instead of going there at 350 meters per second, I'm getting there at 542. Once I see that I'm within range of my guns, within 2,000 meters, I'm going to turn them on, and we're going to see if we can blow this guy up. But first, we have to lock him. Hold Control and left click. You cannot do much to a target unless you lock it. There are exceptions, of course. Now I've turned my guns on. We're actually going to go for an approach. Oh, there we go. I blew him up. Hee. Now he's got 2 more buddies. I'm gonna orbit them really tight too. I need to set my default orbit to 500. There we go. So you can do this, and I control left clicked on both of them right away just to lock them up. You can't fire on stuff unless your target is locked. Very important. All right. So now they're down here. They're also on my overview. They're also here in space. I can see my path and my little blue circle. I am running out of shields. I can see my path and my little blue circle. And that's where I'm trying to get to. Can I even get close enough to this guy to blow him up? We'll find out. Now my shields are gone, and I'm turning my guns on a little bit early because I'm panicking in my Velotor a little bit, because this ship is no bueno. But this is how you blow stuff up, all right? Now, of course, it gets a lot more complicated than this, especially if you have multiple weapon systems and drones and armor hardeners and all the great things you can put on your ship, which I have none of. In fact, I'm not even sure I can finish this site. So let's talk about this down here while I'm slowly taking a bunch of damage. I can't even get close to this guy. Instead of orbiting, we're actually just going to approach, because my orbit actually flings me too wide. and I can't do it. So we're actually going to switch to just approaching and see if we can get stuff done that way. When they blow up, they leave wrecks behind that you can. We'll talk about that in another video. But this outer bar is your shields. The middle one is your armor, and the really in one is your structure. Once all three of those bars go red, you're dead. So you really need to watch out. Now, this ship right now, most ships have ways to repair themselves. Not all, but most. This one has no way to repair itself. So as they do damage to me, I can't repair any of it. It's like I don't have any healing potions, you know? So I'm just, I'm going to try to kill 5 of these guys because I have a quest, and then I'm going to try to get out. Depends on what spawns here. Yeah, these are initiates. I should be able to do this. We'll see what happens. Your shields will slowly regenerate, but very slowly. Look, I have 3 shield. 4 shield. Oh, your armor and structure will not regenerate themselves. Shields passively recharge, but armor and structure do not. Look at this cool telescope. Oh, move, telescope. Got to get close to this guy. Okay, I'm within range. No, we took him out. He was easy. Let's kill his buddy, and then let's head back to station. We'll talk about repairing damage. There we go. All right, we're getting out of here because we are a hot mess. So we are going back to Dodixie. Just go here, and you can jump there, or use your hotkey or whatever. We're just going to leave this site unfinished for now. Somebody else can finish it off. Because I think Julius Pleaser is going to blow up in his Corvette. When your ship dies, if it dies... well, not if it dies, when it dies, your capsule will fall out. So your capsule, then you can get away in your capsule. You can still warp off in that sometimes. You know, obviously there are no 100% guaranteed rules in EVE Online. But that's how you fit guns on a ship, put ammo in them, which you need to do, and then go blow up dudes in space. Those early combat sites are some of the things that you should be running early to get familiar with how the controls work, how everything feels. Nothing is terribly dangerous inside there. If I were to put an armor repairer on here, I would have been completely fine in that fight. But I don't have the skills for it, and it takes about 7 or 8 minutes to train it, and I just don't have that kind of time. So we're going back to Federation Navy Assembly Plant. And when you dock, it'll fully heal your shield, but not your armor or your structure. You need to repair those on your own. But I think that leads us to the next section, which is security status, which is something we need to talk about. Because a lot of deaths I see early from new players is because they don't know where they are in space. And then they get blown up, and then they get mad. So let's talk about that in the next part of the video. I'll see you there. Alright, so the next part of this video is on security status. So EVE is a game with 3, 4, 5 very distinct regions. We're going to talk about 3 of them. And they are high security space, low security space, and null security space. No security space, right? So if you zoom out in the star map, because you're going to start in high security, as you zoom out, you can see that the systems, as long as you have filtered by security status, or you're showing colored by security status, you can see that the systems in here are bluish, greenish, yellowish. As they turn orange, then they turn red. All right, the warmer the color, the more dangerous the space. And the cooler the color, the safer the space, except with the one exception of Jita. That solar system is a hot mess every single day, and it is 0.9, which is almost the highest security you can get. But that doesn't stop people from blowing up a bunch of stuff there. All right, so with the exception of Jita and a few other systems in high sec, the space is generally pretty secure. Here's why. In high security, that's anything between 0.5 and 1.0, so 0.5, 0.6, 0.7, 0.8, 0.9, and 1.0. If you take a hostile action against another capsuleer, another player, the space police will show up and blow you up. That's the long and short of it, right? The difference between the high-sec systems is the police take longer to show up in the systems with lower security, meaning you can get more dirty work done before the police come and shoot your stuff. You know, let's say you're in Langisi over here, right? That's 0.5. It takes the police like a good amount of time to respond. You can look up the values. I think it's 45, 50 seconds. It's a really long time. Whereas in 1.0 or 0.9, they're there within like 3 or 4 seconds. They're there immediately blowing up the bad guys, the aggressive guys. I guess there's no good or bad, really, just the aggressive actors. That's a high security space. Now, the thing that I see the newer players complain about the most, and then where they make the most mistakes, is they wander into the next area, which is called low security space. This is from zero point 0.4 all the way down to 0.1. And what happens is they'll wander into one of these systems, and what they don't realize is not only is everything in these systems just more dangerous in general and more difficult to deal with, there is no police force there. If you start attacking somebody or kill them, nothing happens. Like, you can blow up an entire ship, and there's no retribution for you at all. And so that's low security. The difference in null security is the same way. You can do whatever you want out there. The main difference between those two is that in low security you cannot deploy these things called bubbles, and in null security you can. So bubbles are too complicated probably for a basics video. But that's the main difference between low and null, besides just the general difficulty of the content that's there. The PvE stuff gets harder and more lucrative as you go out into null. And so all the money, actually all the money is made in Jita, but a lot of the money is also made out here in the red area, right? That's where the really lucrative, dangerous stuff is, and also your ship can get killed and the other person gets no retribution. At least from an NPC, they can totally get retribution from other people in your corp or fleet mates or whatever, or you can go back and kill them yourself. If you want. So that's the deal with the securities. You just need to be careful as you drift out in below 0.5. As you drift out into there, people can and will hunt you and kill you, and no matter what you're flying, even if you have nothing of value. It doesn't matter to them because there's no retribution. So in high sec, usually you're only going to get killed if they can kill you before the police show up and you have something that's more valuable than the ship that they killed you in, right? Because they're going to lose the ship that they killed you in. So, for people hauling large amounts of stuff, large amounts of goods, you're a high priority target because you have lots of tasty space candy in your hold. And they can usually gank haulers before the police show up. So you got to be careful. But for most new players, high sec really isn't that bad. There's horror stories here and there. Oh, you lost a venture because somebody was having fun and wanted to gank you. But until you start hauling around 100 million worth of stuff, or you're in some kind of ridiculously bling fit in high sec, I generally think it's pretty safe. I've been attempted to be ganked twice, I think, in high sec. Once was a failure. I think they didn't account for just how tanky my ship was, and the other one, I think I may have lost something, but it wasn't worth that much. So and I've been playing this game for a while. Honestly, high sec is only dangerous in Jita if you're carrying a lot of value. So be careful if you have a lot of value, even in high sec. But in the early game, you don't have a lot of value. You think you do. But, people losing 3 million as Tristan because they shot the Autothesian Lancers on a gate and then quitting the game is just silly. You always have a Corvette to fly, and it's got a civilian Gatling gun on it. That being said, that's about the security status. And in this next part here, we're going to talk about how you know what skills to train so you can be a better space pilot so that people don't blow your stuff up as much and you blow other people's stuff up more. All right. Okay, so this next part is about how to know what to train. Well, that's subjective, isn't it? So everything in this game has a set of skills associated with it that when you train them up, you become better at that thing. Marketing and trading, flying ships, harvesting planetary resources, finding things in space by scanning them. All this stuff has some kind of skill associated with it that you can train at to get better. If you click your little guy's face, you can see the skills. Now, this is actually being redone as part of the new player experience, so this part of the video will be irrelevant, and I will make a new video about that. But the basics are still going to apply here. All right, so the skills are all put into these different categories here. And for right now, all you need to know is that in the early game for fighting stuff, Spaceship Command and your weapon system of choice are going to be your best friend. Your weapon system and your tank system of choice. All right. How do we know what that is? Depending on what part of space you're in and what kind of Corvette you get into, that is the best type of ship to fight the things that are in that part of space. Based on what damage type it can deal, there are 4 different damage types, and what damage type it resists the best. So in the case of where I am right now, I'm in Galente space, so I get a Velotor. There's 4 races. There's Galente, there's the Amar, there's the Minmatar, and there's the Khazari. They all have different weapon systems that their types of ship prefer. Your selection at character creation doesn't matter at all. You can fly whatever you want. Just because you picked a Galente doesn't mean you can only fly Galente ships, even though they're the best, subjectively. So, don't worry about your race, but do worry about what part of space you'll be fighting stuff in, okay? Because as far as the best type of ship, now it's not far and away the best type of ship for each space, but if you get whatever Corvette you get in, do the following. Get in the Corvette of whatever station you're kind of hanging around in. Go to the fitting. Go to the info. And then go to the mastery tab. Even the Velotor, yes, even the Velotor has a mastery tab. Now, ship mastery does not actually give you anything. Being mastery level 5 on this ship doesn't mean I'm anything different than anybody else that has, this ship. These don't actually give you anything. They're just guidelines. Now, these might be replaced by skill plans. I like ship mastery for now, so if you see this video before the new patch drops, then this might still exist after it. I have no idea. But this tells you, hey, if you want to fly Velotors or other things like this is a Galente ship. You can tell that because if you go to the ship tree, you can see that this is the start of the Galente ship tree. So anything that you train up to help the Velotor be better is generally going to make any Galente ship you fly better. Look at the size of this ship tree. So the first place you go after this is up here to the frigates, right? There's 6 of them. And then you go to the destroyers, and then you go to the cruisers, and then to the battle cruisers, to the battleships, to the dreadnought if you get lucky and rich. So anything you train to kind of make the Velotor better will help most things on here. It's not ship specific to the Velotor. It's like you're training drones, which pretty much everything in the Galente line uses a lot of drones. They're very drone oriented. But anyway, and then it'll tell you like, hey, look, if you train repair systems, this ship will be better because usually you're going to use like an armor repairer on it to repair it, like we saw earlier or didn't see earlier. And also maybe sensor linking would be a good thing to do too. That's only 33 total minutes of training, and boom, you'll be at Mastery 1. After 3 days and 15 hours of training, you'll be at Mastery 2 if you train the following things. A second level of repair systems. Now, blue means I have it in my skill queue because I was planning to train that anyway. If you train weapons upgrade to level 3, you'll get, that'll be better. It'll be good for this ship in some way or another. You should read what all these things do. Excel control, and then sensor damping. Like this is probably the most useless category on the Velotor, but if you're flying Galente stuff, then they're big into that. And then under small hybrid turrets, so hybrid turrets, remember that's for Galente stuff. So you can kind of see what the type of ships you like to fly are good at. And if a ship catches your fancy, right? Like you're like, oh man, I saw a video and this guy was flying this rattlesnake, right? A lot of people fly rattlesnakes. You can do the same thing with that. Right click it, say show info, or however you want to get into the info for the ship. Go to the mastery tab and figure out what they want you to train in order to do that. That'll give you a good idea about what to fit. Shield tanking, large missiles, this is the kind of thing. Drones, right? So that'll kind of tell you, yeah, if you want Mastery 5, it's only going to take you, 4 years. No big deal. But only a year for Mastery 4 on this if you get there, but whatever. So that's a really good idea, at least for ships, what you want to train. If you like a ship that strikes your fancy, find a frigate that you like first and work your way up into the destroyer, into the cruiser, into the battle cruiser, into the battleship. And along the way, just figure out, okay, what makes this ship better by using the mastery tab. And that'll generally be a pretty good idea. So you can fly whatever you want. You can fly whatever you want, whatever ships you want in whatever space. I'm just saying based on the PvE content that's there, certain pirates have resists and deal certain damage types that a lot of times the ships of that region are better at fighting. So that's not to say you can't take a Galente ship into a Mars space and have a fine time. Or a Caldari ship into Minmatar space and have a fine time. But, generally speaking, if you're hanging around Galente space a lot, flying a Galente ship is usually the best thing. And that is my 5 important basics for Eve, whatever online, whatever order I put those words in the actual title. We'll find out. Please like and subscribe if you watch this far in the video. Thank you. You're amazing. And then in the description is a referral code where I get sweet loot if you start playing Eve. And I hope you do, because this game is, it's the most addicting thing I've ever done in my entire life. And I've done some addicting things. But EVE Online, it's just one of those games where if you can get into it, if you can really get into it, it's unbelievably immersive. The graphics are beautiful. The design is really nice. You get to customize all your stuff. This ship can be anything I want it to be. More about that in the fitting. I will link some useful videos in the description as well for you to check out that are probably a bit more advanced, but are really helpful as well for new players. Thank you so much for watching. And I'll see you on the next Aries Gaming.